In the last episode, I traveled up from Boise into the Boise National Forest past the Pioneer Forest Fire, one of the worst forest fires Idaho has ever seen. After exploring a large loop of the forest on one end the first day, I decided to travel deeper into the woods and relocate to try to find some more challenging roads, and that's exactly what I did. I found some nice 4-track, some rugged dirt roads, and even some single track by a creek that led into a swamp and about 20 feet above a creek, which is a little bit scary. But you can see that this forest is no stranger to forest fires. This is probably several years old, what you're seeing here, but it's burnt trees. It's standing timber, but it's still burnt trees. And you can see the smoke-filled valley in the distance. And it just seems like as the day got longer, the smoke got worse. As you may recall in a previous video up in the Magruder corridor, I expressed my shock and surprise at all the burnt timber and the succession of burns that was so obvious in the Magruder. It was not as impressive, the succession of burns here, but you can see just almost as much damage in this part of the country as you could in Magruder. Just the succession is harder to tell. It looked like one big burn that had happened maybe 5 years ago. But as I said earlier, this was one of the biggest, most devastating fires since the 1910 burn, known as the Big Burn. And there's even a documentary on PBS, American Experience, about the Big Burn of 1910 and how the Forest Service dealt with it then and as a consequence, and how they managed forestry and the reserves based on the result of this fire that was over 100 years ago. And I remember the first time that I heard a forester talk about managing burns, and I just thought it was the most bizarre thing I'd ever heard. Why do you let forests burn? And if you watch this documentary, you might have a better understanding of the policy of letting forests burn, because it's fuel and it's natural for a forest to burn occasionally. And out west, apparently, it's even more frequent occurrence, a natural occurrence, to let forests burn. And when you don't let forests burn, obviously they become out of control when they do burn, which is kind of what happened in 1910. But all this is kind of hard to swallow if you're not used to seeing this kind of devastation. I'm from the South. We have very few fires in the South, but when they do, they get everybody's attention. But out here, the forest burns every year. In Idaho, it burns every summer, and just where and when is the big factor. Is it affecting you living in your part of Idaho more than somebody else? But I think it's just something that people have come to live with, and it's just hard. It's hard for a newcomer to accept all these fires, and it was hard for me living in the middle of this for a few days, living in the middle of burning wilderness. Something that I have come to be very passionate about, the green life. But I've also come to accept the fact of life that it's part of nature for the forest to burn, and for someone to get in the way of the forest burning causes even more problems. I think we're seeing that now in California. The lack of management in the forest, and the overgrowth of places that should be allowed to burn, and allowing plants that are the wrong species. They're not native species, and that's why you're seeing such disasters in California now. Is they're not the forests are not being allowed to burn the way they normally do, and when they actually burn, they're uncontrollable. And it's just one of those things that not very many people are willing to accept because they don't understand forestry. And I'm not saying I have a superior knowledge, it's just I've come to accept that forestry is a concept. It's not a let's save all the trees concept, which is, can be disastrous, as has been proven many times and is being proven right now in California.
I have been riding mostly dirt roads today, but I got on some 4-track and a little bit of single track till I came to my senses. Once it started peeling up the side of a cliff face and right next to the river, I decided there's no bailout and I'm tired. And then like a dumbass, I got on this gnarly ass 4-wheeler trail that comes up the side of this mountain that switchbacks. I could see how the 4-wheelers made it up here, but man, I'm guessing I'm one of a few people that have made it up here on a motorcycle, because that's some gnarly shit. But anyway, I fixed to go back down. I saw these big, nasty, awesome rock faces out here, and I wanted to come up here. As soon as I saw it was coming up the side of the hill, I was like, okay, I'm gonna get up there, hell or high water. I almost bounced off the trail 2 or 3 times, but I had to keep up speed because you'd lose traction if you didn't maintain your momentum, and you'd just spin. And the big chunky rocks like this shit is just, it's tough riding. I wished I had more energy and maybe somebody to ride with. I don't like riding really nasty stuff by myself, because it's easy for me to break a leg, break an ankle, break a motorcycle, then I'm walking out of here. I'm probably not 10 miles from the Custer Byway, which is a big dirt road that runs through a ghost town, but I'm probably 15 miles from pavement. So I'm gonna go back, get on pavement, check out a hot springs on the way back, and then it's beer time. Smoky as shit up here, but it's still beautiful. It's kind of hard to deny, especially when everything's burned up. You can see stuff. Like, you might not be able to see that rock face over there if the trees weren't all burnt. And this stuff you probably couldn't see from here unless you were standing on top of it. But I love this shit. As rugged as it is, I love it. But I'm beat. I'm out of water. I'm on my last few sips of water, so I'm going back down. Hopefully I don't fall off the side of the cliff. I hope some of this stuff shows up on video. My camera's about out. But I just thought it was odd. I got up to the top of the hill and realized I can't even hardly see the road from where I came. It's all covered in smoke. All this stuff back here, you can't really see the next mountain. You just see silhouettes. So it's getting real freaking smoky. I thought I'd outrun the majority of the smoke, but I guess that may be impossible. The wind shifts direction and whatever, I don't know. It's kind of depressing, but it's kind of cool that I'm getting to see some shit that I would not see if I had hauled ass into Wyoming. So I think I'm 30 miles from camp. I don't know. Hope so. I'm running out of water.
After 3 days of inhaling the smoke and the ash from the burning forest miles away, I decided it was time to move south to enjoy some cleaner air. Wasn't really sure where I was going, but I knew Sun Valley looked very beautiful. I was quite sure that I was not going to be able to camp anywhere around Sun Valley, but I figured if I kept going south, I would eventually find something that was interesting, something to ride, something to enjoy, and that's exactly what I did. I headed south, and it took me miles and miles to get out of the cloud of smoke that followed me. Obviously, this thing had really grown in size. And you can see the cow I just passed over here on the right. But I hate that I didn't get to enjoy this spectacular scenery in a little bit cleaner time. But I'm glad that I had a chance to ride through here and explore, to experience what was there, regardless of the condition of the atmosphere. And it's just one of those things that I'm sure that I will be back one day, but I'm probably going to make it either before fire season or well after. But this place up here gets cold. It's pretty high up. It's 5,000 to 7,000 feet is what I remember. But you can see Idaho is just covered in remnants of volcanic activity from millions of years ago, and this is pretty obvious of what is covering Idaho. And this is the remnants of what's left over. Most of this, what you see, is down in canyons that are hundreds, if not thousands, of feet deep. But Idaho is a wonder. And I would highly recommend anybody that's curious about Idaho to come visit and see what it has to offer. I will never forget my time in Idaho. It's just such a wonderful experience.
So I'm just outside of Arco, Idaho. I've had to come this far south to get out of the freaking smoke. My eyes were burning. My lungs and throat have been burning for a couple of days, but I've just kind of dealt with it. And as soon as my eyes started burning, I was like, I'm packing up and going. I hauled ass, and I've been driving for 2 hours trying to get out of the smoke. And I found, I guess it's the break in the mountains where the wind is actually able to blow east. And I'm just excited to be clear. I think, yeah, I'm sitting by the airport. This is a nice spot. This is a way station, a closed way station. It's just basically an empty pull-off. A big pull-off, but nobody's manning the way station, or at least there's no equipment here. And I'm right across from the airport, so I'm going to camp here for the night, I think, unless somebody runs me off. And run down to Craters of the Moon tomorrow morning, which is about 20-something miles away. And it's supposed to be hot there, but I think we're still going to be close to 5,000 feet there, so it can't be that hot. It's got a bunch of hardened, molten rock, but maybe if I do it early enough, it won't be too bad. But we'll see.
So join me next time as I explore the Craters of the Moon National Park. It is pretty extraordinary. I hope you will join me then.